Good afternoon from Okinawa, Japan, home of OkiSubies. Today we got a fun video for you guys. Well, fun for me, my favorite engine, and we have the EZ30 R and we have the EZ30 D. The EZ30 D came in the BE year, and then the EZ30 Rs came within the BL year. I'm getting ready to build the engine, so I'm going to tear it down and send it out to Alpha Motorsports. But in the meantime, I got another EZ30 D. I want to compare the differences. So let's break them down and check it out. Okay, so before we break it down, I just want to talk a little bit about the differences. The first thing you're going to notice is obviously the cool top black manifold versus the cast aluminum manifold on that one there. This one has more technology. Like I was saying, AVCS, and it's got the active valve lift system in there also, similar to VTEC. So there's more technology in it, except for this engine is actually lighter. My assumption obviously is going to be because of the intake manifolds. Within the intake manifold, another big difference is the electronic throttle body. So this one right here is all drive-by-wire. That one right there still has the cable and all that good stuff. It's got an idle air control valve. Just a little side note, right? Electronic throttle body versus just the normal old school cable that literally goes to your pedal. One real cool thing about these is you don't need an idle air control valve anymore, right? So the actual ECU is controlling literally with the throttle in itself versus allowing air to bypass your throttle body to keep your engine idling. Why is that cool? Well, if they start going bad, look at the little butterflies flying around us. If they start going bad, that's when you start getting the faulty idles and things like that. You typically don't have too much of an issue with drive-by-wire with that type of stuff. So yeah, I'm really curious. Both of them are 10:7 to 1, so the compression ratios are the same. There are some difference in that in the AVCS and things like that, the technology. Again, we'll get into that as we start tearing it apart. You'll literally be able to see what causes that and what it looks like. I'm really interested in the blocks. Are the head studs the same? Is the block itself the same, and just the differences is the heads and the intake manifold? Not a lot of EZ30 content out there. Let's go ahead and look at this one over here real quick. So this is the old school intake manifold, and you also have cables. You got a throttle position sensor. You have idle air control valve, map sensor, all in the throttle body, very similar to the EJ setups, but also completely different. First, we're going to pop off the intake manifolds. Okay, so we have the intake manifolds off. So I have a parallel fuel system in my car, and once you do the aftermarket fuel rails, it doesn't connect to the actual manifold anymore. So this engine here, we're not really too concerned about it, especially the fuel rails, so we're kind of cutting the fuel lines and whatnot there, so don't worry about that. But a couple things that's really cool. So yeah, the engine harness stays on with the engine. It doesn't come off with the intake manifolds, which is different than the EJs. If you look here, the EZ30s, they have 2 knock sensors. Fuel rails, injectors connect to the heads versus the intake manifolds. Oh, let's try this. Let's try this. Will this... Look at that. Literally bolts right on. So the intake manifold from a newer one bolts on to the older one, so the actual bolt pattern in itself is the same. Really no reason why you would probably have to do that, to be honest with you, unless you had the EZ30 D setup here, the older setup, and you ran like an aftermarket ECU, like a Haltech. You can always add drive-by-wire to it with that standalone system. So that'd be kind of cool. But then again, if you have a Haltech and you're using a standalone system, why would you not just wire the newer model engine inside of it type of thing? But at least we know now that that manifold will fit on the older setup. Let's see what else is the same. Let's do the pulley and then the front cover now. You know, on the EJs, when you're doing the crank seal, you have to remove the whole timing belt components. This one right here, you just remove the crank pulley and the crank seal is right there. Really long one. We'll do the same thing with that one. That was the more important one in my opinion because that one's going in my car. So I want to know how that one gets put back together. But let's go ahead and pop this front piece off. Make a mess. Okay, so yeah, just kind of a quick overview. This one right here is going to be the water pump. Oil pumps in the back of here. And then you have 1, 2 tensioners and a few guides. It's pretty cool. Before we start tearing this apart, let's go ahead and go to that one and take a look at the difference. The biggest difference that we're going to see right away for sure is the cam gears on these ones over here. The newer ones again have an AVCS technology, so these top cam gears would look different. Let's see if there's any other differences in that one. Okay, so now we're back with the EZ30R, and we have taken all the bolts off of this. We're going to do the same thing. First thing you notice is there's significantly less bolts on this one. So the little Allen key, these bolts, there are 40 on this one and 59 on that one. So this one's better. All right, you guys have a nice day. No, just kidding. The front portion of these, very similar to like the FAs, is the most intimidating portion of it. The rest of it is all pretty simple. So yeah, let's go ahead and pop this front cover off like we did on the other one and check out what's on the inside. Another thing that you're going to want to do is just notice the line for the AVCS is attached to the back of the front cover. So we're going to want to remove that before we try to pop it off. There is the cover of the EZ30R. That's pretty cool. If you look at the actual exhaust cams, left side, right side, they have these little holes. I don't know if it's to lighten it up or not, but looking at those ones right here, they'll be lighter than those ones, that's for sure. And then you can see on those the exhaust. So the first thing that I thought of is the cam gears. Like if you wanted to delete the AVCS, I was thinking, wow, you might be able to just use these. But if you look at like some of the H6 groups and whatnot, Aaron Gipp, he's made custom ones to replace these ones so that you can remove AVCS. So I was like, well, there's probably a difference. And if you look, yeah, there's 10 mil bolts holding on those cam gears versus these ones here, very similar to the EJs, have the bigger Allen key in the center. Let's start taking this apart. We already know that the cam gears are different. Let's start looking at the tensioners and some of the guides and see what's different from there. So we have the timing components completely removed. I don't know if I mentioned this. I didn't mention this earlier. These pieces right here on the front cover, obviously the amount of bolts is different too, but these ones right here are bigger because of the AVCS that the EZ30R has. Surprising, all the tensioners, all the guides, everything like that for the most part, all are identical. The cam gears are different. The actual timing components themselves are pretty similar. Not that that really matters, but it's just kind of an interesting to see. We're really going to start seeing a difference from here on out, which is this back plate right here that actually needs to come off before you start removing the heads. This is kind of like the black back timing cover of an EJ. You can kind of look at it that way, but it's got to also seal oil. So behind this is the oil pump, and you can see this is a small plate versus on the EZ30R there is a bigger plate that you have to remove. The bolts and the 10 mils and whatnot kind of start to get a little bit crazy over here. There's just so many to take that back plate off. The water pump comes off from here, this guy right here. And yeah, I'm really interested. I want to look at the oil pumps. Sometimes at Subarus, like you have the older models which have the 10 mil oil pump versus the newer ones have an 11, or some of them have 12 mil oil pumps. I doubt that there's a difference, or if we could even use it, I don't even know, but we'll see if there's a difference in the actual oil pump gears themselves. These bolts right here, the Allen keys often, we'll see. So you could break that one off. Let's see if this one will work. Okay, so I'll be able to remove these ones. Interestingly, on the EZ30 R, let me go over here. This guy right here often will strip out. Let's see. See how it just stripped out. So I'll try to pull up with another Allen key and try to find one. But yeah, Aaron Gipp, he builds these a lot. And before I even started working on the last one, this is actually my second one. The first one that I actually tried to tear apart to build, the crankcase bolt, one of them snapped off. Aaron's never seen it before. I've never heard of it before, but he mentioned, hey, these little Allen keys, like it's a specific size. It's like a normal, not a normal one. Drill them out and replace them with one that can easily be replaceable. So that's what we're gonna do. But yeah, just like you saw right there, that thing just starts, yeah, just twists on out. I'll show you how to drill those out. It's not really that difficult. Once you drill the head off of there, the back portion of it comes off pretty easily. Okay, so I went ahead and I removed the Allen keys that are easily accessible versus these guys right here. And I'm just going to show you what happens when you drill it out real quick. That should work. And once you get it in there far enough, you can just break off the tip. You don't want to go too deep because you're going to need that portion, which is like, man, it looks like it's just a bunch of stinking Loctite on there. Maybe that's why it's all jacked up. There it goes. Just got to do 1, 2, 3, 4. Usually these ones, this is the only one that I've ever had issues in the past with, but I don't know if you can see it, but it slightly spins. Just try to see it. See how it spun just a little bit? Once it spins, then you know the tip of it is broken off. And you can break it off like that. Obviously, with all the metal shavings, this is all going to get cleaned up, sent out, and built, and all that good stuff, but sucks. I don't know. I probably should just call Subaru and get the proper tool if they actually have one, if it's not like a specific size, but nobody got time for that. The diameter, I believe, is what they're measuring to get the actual millimeter pump for like the EJ setups. This one right here, I should get a different tool, but this is just what I have right now. Is looking like this 13 mil. 12 mil versus this one is a little bit. This one's 12. So maybe. And now let's take apart the other one and see if there's any difference there. So we've pulled the oil pump off of the EZ30 D, the older model, and in Subaru fashion. Look at the size difference. The older one versus the newer one. Wow. So the newer ones have a bigger oil pump. It's not surprising, simply because a lot of times with Subaru, when they introduce things like AVCS and whatnot, they'll adjust with the oil pump to make sure that the engine gets the proper amount of oil. So we're going to remove that. Now that we've removed it, you can see the pump is actually attached to this. So instead of messing around with this, trying to figure out how to remove it from this cover, you can just remove it all off there at once. Now, with the front covers off, so obviously these back covers over here are definitely different But now looking at it from here, they're different. Bummer. The reason why I wanted to see if they're the same is because I have spare EZ30 heads and then that block, right? So I was like, well, if I could put those heads on the block, if the block is the same, that'd be cool. But it's definitely looking like there's some differences around the oil pump area. So I was just putting all the oil pump stuff in a baggie so I know what's what. And this is the cover for the oil pump that you saw earlier. And if you know EJs and you've ever messed around with bumping up the oil pump, getting like from a 10 to an 11 mil or a 12 mil, and then if that's not enough, you can do certain things like shimming. So I'm seeing this portion right here, which is going to be that same exact thing where you can pull the spring, and this one looks just like an EJ setup. So we can see here, oh, it's probably going to gush out, but there'll be a spring. See that? Ooh, look at that, making a mess. Spring. Oh, there it is. Look at that. Ah, it looks just like the EJs. And then for the EJs, what you would do is on the inside of this, yeah, there's no shim or anything like that on inside of these, but in the EJs, what you would do is you would add kind of like a little washer. So if we wanted to bump up oil pressure, it's possible that we can bring up the spring rate by adding a spacer in between here and here, and what that does is it brings up the spring rate, the pressure in itself, and possibly. And the reason why I'm asking, cat's out of the bag right here. So the EZ30, what we ended up doing is we actually got a 6262 from Pulsar Turbos. Talked to Pulsar Turbos, and they're cool with us being a dealer. So we became a dealership. We became a dealer for Pulsar Turbos, and I usually am after response for my cars, but this one here we're going to try to go with a little bit more power. And I got a 6262, so a G35 900, and with that we'll see how laggy it is. But I'm concerned about oil and the oil pressure, because bringing up the RPMs, right? So bigger turbo, it's going to have more boost higher up, more power higher up, and it'd be really interesting to see if we can rev out the EZ30. 8,000 RPMs would be amazing, but from 7,000 to even 7,500 I think would be a pretty cool little change there. So put a shim in there and see what that does. I'll start doing some research to see if anyone's actually ever done that or tried it. If you've tried it and you're watching this video, you let me know. Looks like someone wasn't doing oil changes very frequently. Okay, so now we have the valve covers off, and I just wanted to show you over here, this is a normal cam gear where you just have the one lobe, and then over here you can actually see the more aggressive cam lobes on this side versus this one. See that dinky little cam right there versus the higher cam lobes right there? So, yeah, you want these ones versus the middle one there. If you look at the EZ30 D, neither one of them have it. It's just a simple straight cam lobe, just one. So you get one lobe at all times. There's no VTEC. Simple. See, it's shim over buckets, so even the shims, the buckets, and everything like that, these pieces here are all different. Look at that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 head studs. If you want to take this bottom plate off of an engine stand, don't be like us and put them like we usually do with the EJs. Put this on the actual long block portion. This right here is attached to this. So now we'll have to take the heads off, make it into a short block, and either, I might be able to just readjust that, huh? Maybe just readjust this one, put it here, and then do the same thing with the other one, and then pull off the pan. Let's get these heads off. Okay, so we have one head off, and as you can see here, the EZ30, it's got the open deck. One thing that I've noticed with the actual open deck setup though is the actual cylinder walls, they're not too long. surprisingly, when you look inside of it. Like if it's really long, then you'd be worried about a lot more flex. But obviously if this portion that's coming up is short, then it would be a little bit stronger. But either way, they're still thin. They're still really close on this portion, so they're known to have issues over here. I seen a guy on one of the EZ30 turbo pages, and yeah, he was testing it out, and I think he was over like 25 psi, and he cracked the stinking side of the cylinder walls. So what we're going to do is, originally I actually had bought some parts that I was going to just put in just forged pistons and head studs, but we're actually going to send this out to Alfred Motorsports. We want to close deck it and then get the bigger head studs so we can push a little bit more power reliably. Even looking at the head studs, exact same. Yeah. I thought that these had different head studs, so. So the actual locations for the valves are a little bit, there's not as much of a groove in there. He's doing the left side, I'm doing the right side. The right side is the side that has the case have bolts inside of it. So the extra location, this area right here, is just for the bolts that you could see. So you pop those off, and that's how you separate the case halves. So yeah, I think the blocks, in that sense, it should be the same. But pistons are definitely different. At this point in time, what we're going to be looking at is the crank, to see the difference between the crank, maybe main bearings, rods, that kind of stuff. So just looking at the differences again, this one here, not only does it have the AVCS, but the active valve lift, right, where again, it's got the separate cams. You have the high side and low side. But if you look here, it's really cool because you have the bottom spring on the inside, and then you have another portion on the back side here. Look at Germany. That's that. Like, they're not joking, man. When they say that there's Porsche technology in these engines, it's legit. Very similar style system that Porsche uses. But you have like this little groove right here, and with that groove, there's another little groove right there that you can actually slide it in. And that's how you make sure that you have it in properly, because as you can see the markings, it can't be in there like this. It's got to be in there in a specific way. So there's like a little spot that you can install that in if you play with it properly. Come on. I guess I don't need to put it back here now. Alright, anyways. So that's that right there, but this, very similar to the older like GC8 style setups where you actually have a shim. So to get your clearance, you either get a thicker one or a thinner one of these. But this is from the EZ30 D. So the cams, the heads, is a pretty big difference. The ports and everything like that look the same. I mean, obviously, without pointing out the obvious, which everyone knows, the exhaust port is just one fat port. All the exhaust ports are connected and they exit in that way, versus the EZ30R has individual exhaust ports like that. That's a very big difference. I mean, the heads are completely different. Pistons look different. Next, what we're going to do is we're just going to go completely separated. The bottom pans don't really look too different. If I notice something, we'll stop record and show it. But what I want to do next is just clean this place up, and what we'll do is we'll have the crank rods and pistons laid out along with some of the major differences, and then we'll wrap it up. The sun's coming down. All right, so we're back and we have everything dismantled on the table right here. Found a pretty good amount of differences, some pretty cool and interesting ones too. So let's get through it. The blocks themselves, as we saw earlier, the oil pump was different. With the oil pump being different, the front housing's different, that front case different. Everything's different on the front side. If you look here, the pistons are a little bit more flat on the older ones versus the newer ones. The top portion right here of the EZ30Rs is a little bit higher than the EZ30 Ds, which, I mean, how much of a difference that would make for reliability, I'm not sure. Either way, the pistons really isn't what the issue is with these cars. or these engines are. It's really more the rods, at least when you turbocharge them. And the rods look exactly the same. I don't see any difference at all with the rods. Crank, there's like some minor differences, but the cranks look the same also. Mechanics aspect of it, in that sense, rotation assembly, it all seems pretty much the same. I think the differences, as you guys already saw, the difference is look at this side by side. EZ30R, this is the EZ30 D oil pump. So not only in diameter, but also in width too. So again, with the variable cam timing and all that good technology that the EZ30R has, having a bigger oil pump is expected. However, also the pickups, EZ30R, EZ30 D, and the pickup thing is way beefier, way thicker in every way, even the actual pickups on the portions, the bottom, everything. So pickup is a lot bigger in the newer engines too. What else did we find? Obviously, the more obvious, the heads, as we saw, the manifolds can swap, so the intake ports are the same as much as we can, as far as we could tell. The exhaust ports, 3 versus just the 1 exit one. We already discussed that. And then injectors too. Injectors, so this is the EZ30R. This is a very typical top feed injector. So I can't remember the size of these, but they're pretty small. When people are going turbocharged, you can put like pinks in there, like the little under 600cc injectors for the STIs. This is the EZ30 D. It's got like a weird little dual exit spray on the tips of them there. Yeah. I think the oil aspect of it is kind of the biggest thing. That's the biggest difference that we've found. I was hoping that I could use this block, but they're different. So we're, yeah, if you need an EZ30 block, let us know. It's probably going to be gone by the time you watch it. But anyways, yeah, I think that's about it. If there's any other comparison videos that you guys want to check out, I know there's a couple of guys that wanted the EJ20 G versus 20Ks and some of the older GC8 platforms. We'll try to get to those, except for those ones are a little bit harder to just get and disassemble because those engines are getting so much more rare. So there's got to be something wrong for it to be disassembled. This one's getting built. This one is the one that was in our Gymkhana car, and we don't really have a purpose for it anymore, so we decided to dissect it. But I appreciate you guys watching. Hope it was helpful, especially for the EZ community. That's a wrap. Have a nice day.